What if you were to listen to an internationally acclaimed, multi-award-winning illusionist, and he had something far more to say than, "Watch this trick"? Rick Thomas is that performer, ready to go far beyond his magic and far beyond your imagination as he shares secrets regarding our dreams. Dreams that can become reality. The future belongs to those who believe in the strength of their dreams. Dreams pass into the reality of action. From the action stems the dream again. And this interdependence produces the highest form of living. Join Rick and his co-host, award-winning broadcaster Tammy Trujillo, for Nothing Happens Until You Dream. Indulge your mind and take a journey never to be forgotten. A journey connecting all of our dreams as we chase them together.
Rick, it is so hard to believe, but we are actually at the very last chapter of the book. We still got the finale, but we're at the last official chapter. Kind of hard to believe.
Time moves on, and that's the only thing I can literally say. I don't know why, as we age, that the years speed up.
Oh,
do you
they
know?
do.
Do you have an answer for that?
No,
Does anybody have an answer for why as a child it takes so long for it to get to a particular, whether it's your birthday or whatever, and you're waiting so long and it drags out, and then as you begin to age and the older you get, those years fly massively faster than you can imagine. And that's the same with the book. You know there's going to be an end. There always is. And then you move on and do something else grand. And that's what we're hoping to do. But at the same time, let's put this in the books and make sure that we nail this one today.
Absolutely. Well, it is chapter 55. That means we've been working through the book. It's taken over a year to do it. And the title, again, your titles are fantastic in the book. Everyone has a story to tell, and that could not be more true.
So many people live their life. You know, how do I put it? I've said this previously, but very few of us will ever make it into the history books. For the billions of people, and we're talking not millions, we're talking billions that have come and gone on this amazing world of ours, very few of us will be ever mentioned or remembered. Sadly, there's just too many of us.
Yeah, right.
So when you're in the history books, I guess that makes it a big deal, but it doesn't mean that you don't have a story to tell. It doesn't mean that you can't affect other people and their lives. Sometimes the littlest thing that you say could be the biggest change in somebody else's life, both positive or negative. So you got to do your very best at being a positive part of the world around you. I know that we live in a world where it's a dog-eat-dog world, and people are out there to get what they can out of it in spite of how they think your feelings should be. But hopefully there's a few of us that hold on tight to those important thoughts, and that is to be kind to everyone and do your very best to uplift those around you. How's that?
I think that's fantastic, actually.
And I did that without cue cards.
Wow. It's so funny because I was just thinking about that the other day, and I was thinking about the comments that I've gotten throughout my life and the ones I actually remember. And there's a handful that I remember. Some of them are good. Some of them are not, that people have made comments to me. And I'm thinking, why have those stuck in my head for X number of years? So you're right. You've got to be careful what you say, because even the most offhand slight comment can stay with somebody and really pop in their head at the most inopportune times and have an effect.
With the show being performed daily, nightly here in Branson and throughout my life, you're always getting critics going online and leaving reviews.
Oh, yeah.
And it never fails. You know, there's someone who puts something down that for some reason, you're not quite sure what mind they're in, and why they say what they say, that is so off compared to everybody else's experience. That you say sometimes, well, I hope that affects them in some way or form the rest of their life. Maybe they'll remember how unkind they were in some words that were shared, and it comes back to them, and they realize as time moves on that they could have been a little kinder to everyone. And but I don't know, you know, there are just people out there that are vicious.
There seem to be. They just delight in messing things up for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, I did confront somebody who actually made one of those comments to me. And the comment was made about 15 years ago. And it bounces around in my head sometimes. And I'll be very honest, it has changed the way I do something. It's actually caused me to stop doing something that I really liked doing. I feel very insecure in doing that anymore because this person just put this horrible doubt in my head. And I confronted this person about a year ago. And he said, "Oh, well, I didn't mean it." And I'm like,
so
well,
simple on their part, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't mean it. I was kind of just in a snarky mood and said it to you. And I said, "Do you realize the impact that has had on me?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's looking at me with his eyes kind of like glazed over. And I said, "Your snarky, offhanded, you were having a bad day comment has stuck in my head and changed the way I feel about something."
Yeah.
And I said, "You should be ashamed of yourself. You need to
And
really think." Yeah.
If we all look in the mirror, we're going to all realize there are some things that we said to somebody else. I know I have.
Oh, me too.
And I should probably reach out and do some apologizing out there. But I do know that there are things that have bothered me. I'll drive in the car quietly, and then all of a sudden in my head, I'll start thinking about life, and wherever it may be, you ponder life and then realize where you felt short.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully in the end too, that we can understand that when we say we're all human, it means that we're all at fault. We all have issues and no one's perfect. You wish you were that one person that said the right thing always, and it just doesn't seem to be. No. It just doesn't go that direction.
It's impossible. And like he said, he was having a bad day, so I got the benefit of it. And I think sometimes that's what happens. We don't mean to do something, but we're influenced by our environment and what's going on. It's just a caution that you really have to think before you say something snarky.
So often, more than not, when we do have something negative to say, there is enough information out there and people out there that have said, just close your mouth.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. Don't say a word. Walk away, because it's going to be regretted.
Yep.
And it is so difficult, but sometimes just sitting there and going, I don't know what's going through their head. I don't know what their problem is, but it's probably best I just not say a word.
Well, isn't that one of those adages that moms taught us all? If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Don't say it at all.
Yeah.
That's right.
See, mom's always right.
Always.
Keeps proving that one out every single day in some way or another. So mom is always right. Remember that. The chapter starts with a picture of you on stage. And if you didn't really know what's going on, I think you had a show going on like Dr. Phil or something.
Yes. I'm actually extremely proud of what I created. It's called Chairavoyance.
Okay.
And it is working with and enjoying the minds of a husband and wife who I bring up onto the stage into the Mansion of Dreams. And we have a discussion about their life, not my life, their life. And of course, there are chairs there. And that being the case, and we're sitting in chairs on the stage, I just called it Chairavoyance. And I have the opportunity to ask some questions to the husband and wife. And the first one is, so tell me what seems to be the problem. And the audience realizes that we're in a therapy session. And we're going to see how well the husband and wife do in front of the audience. And then I turn it quickly to some questions as to, where did you meet? Where was your first kiss? How did he or she ask you to marry one or the other? And these are fascinating questions because they're always different between the two. And again, it's, you're talking about people saying something or remembering something that affected you in your life. You have a husband and wife sitting there who know each other so well, yet those simple questions are answered so differently.
It's like the old Newlywed Show, almost.
It is. It is the new. I would say so. And the picture, though people can't see it unless they've downloaded the book. The picture is a beautiful staging that I created and designed, and it's just a casual moment where I get that one opportunity or chance to just chat with a husband and wife. And the point is that Mansion of Dreams is all about Rick Thomas. And in the middle of the show, I said it's not all about Rick Thomas. Our life, our story, everyone has a story to tell. And for that reason, I bring this husband and wife up there. And for that next 5 to 7 minutes, I get the opportunity to share with the audience their story, their life, and how important it is to them. It helps everybody think about their lives as well. So I enjoy that moment. It's a lot of fun. That actual illusion at the end of it, right when I start the illusion, I pull out a handkerchief and I tell the audience that this might be quite touching when I ask these questions, and it can cause me to tear up because we're talking about a relationship, right? So I bring out the little handkerchief prepared to wipe away the tears from my eyes if the answers are that moving. And at the end of the conversation, I hand over the handkerchief to the wife, and I re-ask the questions again so everybody remembers what they are. And then when we look on the handkerchief itself, embroidered into the handkerchief are the answers to the questions.
Whoa. Embroidered, not written.
Yeah, embroidered. Actually sewn into so I say to the audience at the end of our show today, make sure you walk up to this husband and wife and see how their lives are actually woven into the handkerchief. And then in fact, I tell her, I said, I'm sorry I had this handkerchief. I believe it's actually yours. And when I give it to her, I say, yes, because your life is written on it. And then they get to keep the handkerchief as a souvenir.
You floored me with that one, Rick. I've heard of things being written that have happened in the last couple of minutes during an illusion.
Right.
Written on a card or written on something.
Yeah.
I've never heard of something embroidered. Writing, you can kind of say, oh, it's real quick to do. Embroidered I used to do it. It takes a lot of time. Yeah. So this is, I know you won't tell, but man, I'd love to know how you pull that one off. That is fascinating.
In fact, I'm going to be performing in Europe next season, and they asked specifically, please bring your clairvoyance with you.
Wow.
They had heard of it, and for that reason, I shall come prepared.
And this is an illusion and a whole setup to this illusion that you came up with yourself.
Yes. It's a big set for such a small, intimate piece. We have the chairs, we have this platform, we have a beautiful place for us to sit, and it's just casual conversation in this beautiful setting. But at the end, it is simply, if you want in the world of magic to know what it's called a prediction.
Okay.
Which means that I beforehand know the life of this husband and wife that they're sharing for the first time in front of me in the audience. And I knew that, so to speak, before they shared their life.
Okay. I want you to hold up your right hand.
Yes.
And I want you to swear to everybody who listens to the podcast, they are not plants.
No, they aren't. Okay. Right hands up. They are not plants.
Okay.
Plants are people, for those that are saying, what?
We're not talking potted.
What? I actually, when I was younger, we did a short skit in the middle of the show, and I said, if there are any plants in the audience, please leave. And a guy gets up holding a plant and says, fine, I'll leave.
Oh my gosh.
It's just a joke, right? But basically, what it is people are actually planted in the audience. They're set up. And it is so difficult. Well, I actually throw a brick out into the audience.
Brick?
A brick.
Brick.
But it's only it looks like a brick until I show the audience it's just a sponge.
Okay.
It's a sponge shaped and looking like a brick.
Okay.
They can make things look real, and they're, well, just like for movies and things like that, when you have a cliff fall down on you,
right.
They've got sponge rocks falling down.
Right. They're not going to kill you.
That's basically what it is. But I tell the audience, I'm going to throw this brick out in the audience. Somebody catch it. And then they just start throwing it throughout the audience. And then when it stopped on whomever is holding the brick. And then I asked if they're a married couple. And if they are, then we bring them up into the mansion of dreams. Thus begins clairvoyance.
See, I love that too, because you couldn't have that many plants throwing that accurately throughout the audience.
No.
So that's another guarantee to everybody that, hey, this really, really is a random kind of thing. I'm curious, do you ever see people going up to that couple later and looking at their
Absolutely.
handkerchief? Really?
100%.
Oh my gosh.
They want to walk up to them. They want to see for themselves, even though we have it on camera, on a video screen, and we play it so people can see it. It's still, they need to hold it in their hands and realize that that indeed is for real.
Yeah, I would definitely want to go up to them and check it out. I know it's not a huge, grand illusion, but it sure has me fascinated. I can't wait to see you do it.
And
Wow.
the reason behind it specifically
Mm-hmm.
is that I turn to everyone at the end and say that everyone in this room tonight is important.
Yeah.
And there will be no other time the rest of our lives that we're going to be together in that same room. I have 2 hours of my life and your life together. And I tell them, go out there and share your life with somebody and change somebody's life or inspire somebody in some way or form. And so many people just think that their lives are not important.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
focusing back on the husband and wife, explaining to them and the audience how we know they're going to find their story interesting is it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have 1,000 people sitting in an audience now listening to a story
Mm-hmm.
that a husband, and everybody laughs. Everybody, everybody cries. Everybody, the experience is the same. It's because
Mm-hmm.
we relate to it.
Yeah, because we are all living similar lives. There are going to be similarities between you and anybody that you can relate to and say, I know how that felt.
Yeah.
Rick, all of this with the mansion, all the lessons in the mansion, all the things you've built into all of your shows, because I've seen shows before you even had created the mansion other than on a iPad, which I remember very, very well. It's not a normal illusion show, magic show. We've talked about it multiple times throughout the book. It's not trick after trick after trick.
No.
There's a theme, there's a story, especially with the mansion, there's a total story.
Yes.
Whatever possessed you, because this is the question people have asked me when I've kind of explained your show to them. Whatever possessed you to do a magic show in this way and not just have it be trick after trick after trick?
Because
why?
I think that when you're watching tricks performed and there's no heart or feelings behind it, it's something that can be forgotten. And even the magic that I present in the show, I even say, we're here to watch some magic. And if you're fooled in the process, that's awesome. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm here that when you walk out of the performance, that you leave with something. You leave with the want to follow your dreams, whatever it may be. It's inspiring. And it's 2 hours of our time together. And sometimes I say over and over again, anybody can do a trick, but very few people perform magic. And that's what I want people to remember. Even if it's not about the magic and going beyond it, it is really, truly all about the experience that we have together. Even when you're listening to someone who's inspired and is a great speaker and they get in front of you and they lecture, sometimes the lecture and the words are not remembered. It's the feeling that you had when you were in the presence of that person. And that's what you walk away with. You don't remember paragraph after paragraph. You don't remember perfect verbiage, but you remember the moment because they moved you. They changed your life. They inspired you. And for that reason, that's what I've fought so hard in my life to do. And that's inspire other people to follow their dreams.
Well, it's turned itself into a very interesting onstage performance. I don't think there's one out there that compares to it.
I would have to agree. I mean, honestly, I know in the world of magic what's out there, and there's still just a tremendous amount of magic out there where it's all about the trick.
Right.
And trust me, I embrace it. I embrace what it does and how amazing it is. But when I have people say every single thing that you do has a meaning or a purpose to it, that's what it's about.
Yeah, they get it.
Yeah.
They
like I
feel
said,
it.
it's not about the trick. It is the magic that's left behind. It's the story. I think that's why you asked or pleaded with me, Rick, we've got to get this book into a podcast. And it was all about the Tiger Whisker.
Yes.
And the title of the book itself. And for those that have not listened to the entire book in its entirety from front to back in the podcast, you're missing, I believe it is chapter what?
It's chapter 20 in the book, and it is our episode 21.
It's our episode 21? And it's the Tiger Whisker. And I thought that this being the finale, it's not actually the finale, it's the last chapter, that I briefly share with you again, the Tiger Whisker.
It's an amazing story, and I hope I don't cry again. That's all I can say.
I will make it as brief and as painless as possible.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
You need to listen to it in the chapter properly. Oh, and by the way, I have to tell you, this will date maybe this podcast, but I watched today the implosion of the Tropicana.
Oh, I saw it too. Oh, that broke my heart.
Yeah, my wife was there with Tara's there with me, and I'm crying. I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God.
How long did you perform at the Trop?
Almost 10 years.
Yeah, I knew it was a really long time because I
Almost
saw
10
the
years at
show
the Trop,
there.
yeah.
Gosh, at least two, maybe three times. I'd seen many other shows there. It truly was one of my favorite hotels.
I know.
I mean, my gosh, the Mirage is now gone. The Trop's gone. Yep. I
Yep.
don't know that I'm going to recognize Vegas the next time I roll into town.
I think it's fascinating to just get to a point where you do realize that generations change.
Yeah.
And it moves on.
Yeah.
I even say, what will some of these amazing big cities be like 100 years from now?
Oh, wow.
Some of them may not even exist.
No.
I fear that there's a few of them in California where you're at that they won't even exist anymore.
There's a few that maybe shouldn't, but
well, and I don't say that just in California alone, but some of these big cities are having a really tough time, just struggling to survive as a city. And you give it another 100 years.
Well, their original purpose and what made them big and great may have gone by the wayside with progression and time and changes in technology and what have you. Yeah. And I guess that you could say that's the same as what's happening to some of these very thematic hotels in Vegas, like the Tropicana. That's just not the style anymore. But I sure love it. I sure gonna miss it.
Some of the best ways to see it as well is just to watch an old movie.
Yeah.
And see the style of the movie and see the way they dressed and the way that they spoke. You know what I love? There are some videos out there currently where it shows some of these movies that were made in the 30s and the 40s. And it shows bloopers.
Yes.
Of those movies.
Yes.
Where people, and you're thinking that, they were a different type of people. They were classy. They were this, that. The same words come out of their mouth that come out of our mouths today when they mess up their lines. And you have to laugh and go, wow, there's not a lot of difference from 100 years ago.
True. People are people.
People are people. And it was just fascinating. You watch it and go, that's pretty funny.
I totally agree. And if you want to see old Las Vegas and see what we're talking about, if you didn't get the experience of going in when all the hotels had a theme to them, there are some great YouTube videos, home movies, really, in a lot of cases, where you can see just what the Strip looked like and what those hotels looked like. I get a kick out of those too. Goodness.
Well, there you go. That was a slight transition as to what I was saying, but it has every meaning to it. When I was at the Tropicana, I moved from the Tropicana over to the Stardust, which also imploded.
Yeah, it was terrific.
Which means that every hotel I've ever performed at has disappeared.
Let's not say that. You're going to jinx yourself here. Be careful.
I'm the one that's caused it to
hire
vanish.
Rick, and your hotel will implode. No.
There's maybe a few times in your life that you remember more than anything else. And that was definitely the Tiger Whisker. And there was a family that came up after the show. I do meet and greets after the show, and they're standing there, and you got a mom, dad, and two sons and their daughter, who was at that point 13 years old. And they came up and said, is there any way our daughter can pet one of your tigers? And I said, no, tigers are trained. They're never tamed. There's just no way I can let you actually pet one of the tigers or see them. In the show, it's controlled. And I'm giving all these excuses, knowing that I walk my tigers and my cast and my crew, they get a chance to see them. They get a chance to be near them, but I just distant from the audience.
Right.
And a woman was there standing with them from Make-A-Wish Foundation. And she explained that their 13-year-old daughter was part of their program, and her wish was to pet a white tiger. So I told my crew, please don't go anywhere. It was immediate for me. I said, let's get you backstage and let's see if I can bring out one of my tigers. At that point, it was Samson. He was the finest tiger I ever had. He was calm, cool, collect, and he just chilled. And he was a good boy. And I brought him out, and for 15 minutes, she and I had the chance to meet Samson, a beautiful, stunning white tiger, and just chat about life. And what we said, I have no idea. I don't remember the stories that we chatted about, because it was all about this girl experiencing simply something she wanted in her life, and her life being so challenged as it was. So at the end of the event, I wanted to give her something to remind her of the day. In fact, Ricky Brandon, my right-hand man, who really handled the cats with me, he's the one who suggested I go back there and find this tiger whisker. So he runs back, and what happens is the tigers, they rub their whiskers off in the caging area in the back, and they break their whiskers off. And why do we want to give her something like a tiger whisker to remember the day by? Well, in India, it is said that if you can pull a whisker off of a tiger and you're still alive, it's good luck.
I would think so.
So we were not going to pull a whisker off a tiger. That is not what we do, but they do rub their faces up against wherever they may be, and they break them off every so often. And so having a tiger whisker is a big deal. Very few people in the world have a tiger whisker. I can tell you that. I still have a few of them, and they are cherished. And I handed it to this girl, and I said, the best I can give you is this tiger whisker, and it's good luck. And I hope it reminds you of the day. And the family thanked us, and they went on their way. About 3 months later, I'm performing my show. And again, I'm out there meeting and greeting the audience. And when I do so, there's a family standing back behind everyone, waiting till everybody leaves. There is a quiet moment that they can chat with us. And it is the same family who came to me 3 months earlier. He had mom, dad, and their 2 sons. And they came up to us and said, Mr. Thomas, we want to thank you for what you did for our daughter. It was a big deal for our family, and we lost our daughter, and this is closure for our family. And of course, you take a moment to feel their pain. You take some time to take a deep breath and go, wow, that's a big deal.
No kidding.
For the family to have done this and lost such a young child. And at the same time, try to put yourself in their shoes. But I was confused. I said, out of everything that you could have done, you're back here in Las Vegas. Why'd you come back to me? And their words were what rang in my ears forever. And that was, and even to this day is, well, you don't understand. The only thing that our daughter wanted to be buried with was your tiger whisker. And I realized at that moment, the little things that you may do to somebody else, which become the biggest thing in their life. And that's the story that I have to share. And I scream as loud as I possibly can that everyone has a tiger whisker in their life to share with somebody else. You need to find it, and you need to share it, and you need to be part of changing somebody's life. My tiger whisker, when I handed it to this young girl, I had no idea. I had no idea what was going to happen. I just gave it to her, and we went on with our lives as though nothing had, my cat, we didn't think twice about it. And you hope you do. I mean, this is a life-threatening scenario for this family. And in losing their daughter, their life went on, and so did ours, and they lost her. But to have them come back and say the one item, the one thing that she wanted to be buried with was this tiger whisker, then made me realize how big of a deal our lives are together. And we strive to follow our dreams together. We strive to work together to become a better people. And in so doing, you change lives. I was not ready for it. And to this day, for that reason, the book is The Tiger Whisker. And that literally now, of course, it's my life. It's the life of the people around me, and it's the stories that I have experienced in my life as well. But it centers around everybody has a tiger whisker to give.
And you got me again. Yeah, I know.
Had to just keep talking. It's easier for me to keep talking rather than pause too long.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
because I always fall apart.
Yeah, I know this story. You've told me this story in person. I've read it in the book. I, of course, was on the episode with you, and I knew what was coming. And I'm still having a moment here because something that literally was nothing. Tiger rubbed it off. No big deal. You guys would have probably swept it up and tossed it away at the end of the night. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, because it's just a thing meant that much to this little girl. I can only imagine that she just kept it with her all the time and made that request.
Well, this is a perfect example of me sharing with you my stories.
Wow.
And how many times do I need to say this, that you have stories as well? I literally look at people around me when I'm walking around. I love people watching.
Oh yeah. It's fun.
And I look at them and I go, you can have initial ideas of what you think a person is. When we look at somebody, we make judgment calls quite quickly.
Oh, totally. Yes. Unfortunately.
But if you do step back a bit and think about everybody that is alive at this very moment and the stories that they can share is mind blowing. So I ask everybody listening to the podcast, take a moment and ponder about your own life and your own stories. You have taken a good portion of your life in your time to read the stories of my life. I've shared them with you. Tammy and I have spent a better part of a year sharing these stories. And it's about time that you share yours. Just take a moment and think about it. And I hope that you look in the mirror and realize that you're important, and that if you're frustrated with life and you have challenges, which we all do, we really, really do. I had a lunch even yesterday with some people who I thought really had their act together.
Okay.
I mean, really, just other people in the entertainment business who are in advertising. And I sat there at the table, and within 30 minutes after we had started to eat lunch, you could see the cracks.
Oh boy.
And not in they as personality. You could see the cracks in their life where they're challenged, just like I am, with the troubles of life. A person they're not getting along with, a frustration with someone who's not listening to them, making phone calls and not getting anywhere with the next sales pitch that they're trying to make. These are the people that I've looked up to who I thought really had their act together, and realized we're all in this together. And that those are wonderful. Those are actually wonderful moments for me.
Well, yeah,
because it really helps me get through my life of stress.
Yeah, I think no matter how successful somebody is or looks, if you can sit down with them, if you can get them to really talk with you, we all have the same problems. We do. We all have the same frustrations and the same problems. And I think when you start to realize that, it does help you, because you realize, okay, I'm not the only person. If they can get through it, I can get through it too. We'll make it. I've got a question I want to ask before I forget, Rick, because I know somebody's going to ask me this. How long is a tiger whisker?
How long is a tiger whisker?
Yeah, I mean, we know how long our cat's whiskers are, but a tiger.
They are about 8 or 9 inches long. Sometimes maybe even up to 12 inches.
I guess they would be about 8 or 9, 12. Wow.
Yeah. They're very long, and they're wiry. They're like a wire. They aren't like a wire where you can tie it with something, but they are a follicle. They're a piece of pretty rock solid something.
Wow.
And that whisker is really strong and pliable and can bend, and it's just fascinating to hold on to a tiger whisker.
Yeah, because we all know what our cat's whiskers are, and I find my cat's whiskers around because they shed them and get new ones. And what are they, about 4 inches maybe? But boy, 3 times, and I probably about 3 times as thick. Wow, that's incredible.
Oh yeah, they're long and they're thick, and they're amazing. Just the strength of their whisker alone is fascinating.
Wow, I can just imagine that little girl when you handed that almost foot long tiger whisker to her. I can just imagine her eyes just getting so big.
I actually do have one of the tiger whiskers framed.
Do you?
In a beautiful frame. I'll probably take it and remove it and put it into the story itself and do the tiger whisker story with it framed. But I do have one that's definitely framed and preserved just for me to remember the story. But I think the story needs to be written next to it.
Mm-hmm. Please, if you liked the story, and I know anybody who hears the story, and I've retold the story multiple times too, because it's incredible. Go back and listen to episode 21, where we really spend time really going into all the details. Rick did the abbreviated version here. All of the episodes, all of them are available wherever you like to get your podcasts, or at nothinghappensunityouDream.com. Every single one, all the way back to the trailer, is there. You want to hit episode 21 And, I want to point out, Rick, that is the episode that won us our Platinum Muse Creative Award. That's the
wonderful.
one. That's the one. And it won for creative excellence. I'm sure you and I sounded good on it, great on it, but I will say the story itself is what won that award.
It's about the story.
It is.
It's right.
It is.
You can listen to the voices, but it's the story.
It's the story.
And I know that those that are listening, some of you are still saying, I've got some stories, but my life really can't be that important to other people. Let me put in perspective. I had this conversation. I'm a on-air personality now on my 100.1 out here in Branson.
Radio Pro.
Partially to the thanks of Tammy as well.
Maybe just a bit.
Who pushed me and said, no, you can do this.
And you have.
You can be on the air.
Uh-huh.
And I shared the 10 top, and I'm not going to go through them right now. Just want to tell you the basics of what I believe. The 10 top wonderful things in life that you wake up to in the morning that make you just go, man, life's wonderful. And at the end of it, I said basically in my own personal world, some of them were like the smell of coffee, right? Or a friend calling you up unknown just to say, hi, I'm thinking of you today. And those are just moments that just make your life. Oh, the sun shining through the window.
Like that.
These are the basics in life that are the greatest thing in life. And I say at the end, I'm just glad I woke up.
Well, that's
and
true,
and
isn't
then
it?
after the end of it, there's a pause, and I say, I'm just glad I woke up because others did not.
That's true.
So every time the sun rises and sets, it's magic. Every time a leaf grows, it's magic. Everything really around you is amazing. And as a human being, when you do wake up and you say to yourself, I'm awake. I also recently had surgery, and the 3 greatest words I heard at the end of the surgery were, Rick, wake up.
Yeah.
Because I had a few more minutes of life to live.
Yeah. There's an unknown when you go into surgery. You don't know.
Yeah.
And when I've had surgeries as well, it's that moment of realization. Hey, wait, I'm still here. I'm here. I may have a big old
count
cast,
that
but
as the wondrous part of your day, just knowing that even though it's going to be a day, a hectic day, as both Tammy and I are living at this very moment.
Oh, yes.
And I told her even before we had the podcast, what did I say? Just be glad you're so busy.
That's true. I was
Right?
complaining about it because I've had some hellacious days with hurricane coverage and all of that, and just it seems nonstop. But no, you're right. You're right. The alternative is far, far worse. To not really know what you should do, just be aimless. Nobody wants to be that. So you're right.
No.
Be careful what you complain about. Be careful what you wish for.
Be careful what you wish for, and then be careful what you complain about. Well,
My
Tammy,
heart
this
is
is
still
my
going
story
way
today.
too fast from that story. I'll be thinking about it all day, Rick. I will.
I say a lot of ums today, and I apologize because that's not supposed to be my vocabulary on the air.
Nah, you know what? It's okay.
I think it's because
one.
I have a hard time sharing the story, and I have few words to say after it. I know that on the air, I know every time I talk, I want to the next thing I say be something better than what I just said. I'm one-upping myself constantly. And in this moment, when I look back on the book and I look back on our accomplishments with what we have done with the podcast and this story in general, by the time I finished the story, there was a in my verbiage because I have nothing more to share.
Yeah.
I do, but I don't. I mean, it's best to leave this story alone and not try to come up with something more inspiring to say today other than everyone has a tiger whisker, and you need to share that tiger whisker with the world.
Thanks for joining us this week on Nothing Happens Until You Dream, starring Rick Thomas and featuring Tammy Trujillo, and is based on Rick Thomas's best-selling book, The Tiger Whisker, available on rickthomas.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out on Patreon for exclusive members-only content. Stay up to date with Rick and Tammy at nothinghappensUntilYouDream.com. Remember, you must follow your dreams, not only for yourself, but for the rest of our future. We'll see you on the next episode.